Welcome to my channel. Here, I bring you stories that will captivate your imagination and leave you on the edge of your seat. Today, I have a chilling tale to share with you. It's about a person who wakes up to the sound of whispers outside their window and discovers a group of hooded figures carrying a young girl into the forest. As the story unfolds, they find themselves in a cursed town pursued by otherworldly creatures. Will they be able to escape and make it out alive? You'll have to listen to find out. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more spine-tingling tales. I promise to bring you stories that will keep you hooked from beginning to end, so sit back, relax, and let me take you on a journey into the unknown. Thank you for watching. I woke up to the sound of whispering outside my window. It was a soft, low whisper, like the rustling of leaves in a gentle breeze. At first, I thought it was just my imagination playing tricks on me, but as I rubbed the sleep from my eyes, I saw a group of hooded figures carrying a young girl towards the forest. I watched in confusion as the figures disappeared into the trees, their hushed whispers growing fainter and fainter. Something about the scene didn't feel right, and a deep sense of unease settled in the pit of my stomach. I decided to investigate. Putting on my shoes and grabbing my flashlight, I made my way outside and followed the group at a distance. The whispering grew louder, and the air grew colder as I approached the forest. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up, but I pressed on. The forest was dense and dark, with gnarled trees that seemed to twist and contort in unnatural ways. As I pushed deeper into the woods, the whispering grew louder and more urgent. Suddenly, I tripped on a root and fell to the ground. As I looked up, I saw the hooded figures surrounding me. They were tall and thin, with skin as white as snow and eyes that glowed with an otherworldly light. At first, I couldn't move. Fear rooted me to the spot, my heart racing as I stared at the creatures that surrounded me. They began to chant in a language I didn't understand, and I realized with horror that they were not human. The figures started to transform, their skin turning to bark and their eyes glowing even brighter. I tried to run, but the creatures were too fast. They surrounded me, their long fingers reaching out to touch me. Just as I thought I was about to be taken, a beam of light shone through the trees. The creatures shrieked and vanished, leaving me alone in the forest. I stumbled back to the town, but it was empty. The buildings were decayed and the streets were overgrown with vines. I realized too late that the sacrifice was not for the forest spirits, but for the town itself. And now I was the next sacrifice. As I stood there, shivering and terrified, I wondered how I could have been so foolish as to wander into this town. I had heard stories of its dark secrets, but I never thought they could be true. I remembered my family and friends back home and how they would never know what had happened to me. I thought about all the things I had never done, all the dreams I never pursued. And then the hooded figures appeared again, their eyes gleaming with hunger. I closed my eyes and waited for the end, knowing that I had been doomed from the moment I set foot in this cursed town. But as the creatures advanced, a sudden burst of courage and desperation surged within me. I bolted from my spot, darting through the streets and alleys with a speed I didn't know I possessed. I could hear the creatures' unearthly screams behind me, their footsteps pounding against the ground. As I ran, I spotted a small, abandoned shack at the edge of town. With no other option, I ducked inside and frantically searched for a place to hide. The shack was damp and dark, with a musty smell that made my skin crawl. Just as I thought I was safe, I heard the creature's footsteps approaching. I held my breath and pressed myself against the wall, trying to make myself as small and silent as possible. The hooded figures entered the shack, their glowing eyes searching for me. My heart pounded against my chest as they drew closer, their long fingers probing the darkness. I could feel their breath on my neck, and I knew that I was trapped. Suddenly, I heard a strange, guttural growling coming from outside the shack. The creatures paused, their heads turning towards the door. There was a loud banging, and then the growling intensified. The hooded figures looked at each other in confusion, and then they slowly turned and left the shack. I heard their footsteps fading away into the distance, and then everything was silent. I waited for what felt like hours, too afraid to move. Eventually, the growling outside subsided, and I cautiously stepped outside the shack. The town was still empty, but the creatures were gone. I realized that I had been saved by something else in the forest, something even more powerful than the creatures themselves. I didn't know what it was, but I felt grateful to it, whatever it was. I left the town as quickly as I could, running through the forest and back to the safety of my own home. I never spoke of the experience to anyone, but the memory of the hooded figures and their eerie whispers stayed with me for a long time. Years later, I found myself driving through the area where the cursed town had once stood. It was still abandoned, with vines crawling up the walls and weeds growing through the streets. As I passed through the empty town, I heard a soft, low whispering. It was the same sound I had heard on that fateful night so many years ago. But this time, I didn't stop. I didn't investigate. I just drove away, grateful for my second chance and determined never to return to that cursed place again.